Hello, everyone. This is Dennis from the Red Sea Podcast coming to you from a very, very dark Greece, nearly 1 a.m. at this point, and trying to still process what the hell we just witnessed. And fittingly, uh, it is also the biggest episode of this show yet because I can finally proudly announce I finally am not alone. Floor's yours.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, like you said, what a night. I mean, so much to process and talk about, but it's great being here. It's been a couple years since I've done anything like this, so I'm really happy to be getting back into it. And what a night to start with.
Honor is all mine, man, honestly. I'll just get uh, the typical shit off. Just like and subscribe if you like what you see. As promised, bigger stuff is going on more and more every episode. Show is here, and the episodes go a few hours after on Spotify. Of course, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter are where you'll get the most updates from me. You can message me, comment, DM me. I respond to anything and anyone. And the show has a TikTok that I'll try to post more on for sure. I know I've said this for the past three episodes, but life's been just chaotic. Let's get this shit started, shall we?
Where do you want to start?
Uh, what a shot on the basketball first. Just dropping, I think it was nearly 40 points difference on Barcelona.
30,
Just
I think 35 was the final score.
wasn't it like 92-58, something like that?
Yeah, 92 or 93.
Yeah, around that, around that.
Great response to a really rough ending on Tuesday. I know you and I talked about that at length with that call at the end of the game. Technically, it's a foul, but it really shitty to have in that point. It's just such a pivotal play. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't able to watch most of it because I was trying to get as much done before the football match. But fantastic, response from the guys, and then we have a game five in Barcelona to maybe sneak in there and get a spot in the final four. That'd be amazing to have it going for both the BC and the FC at the same time.
Would be absolutely insane to. It for sure will be another insane week after this. Uh, wasn't able to watch most of the game either because I was in the mood. Uh, Caught the first quarter, so I have to give massive credit for this victory to Mustafa Fall, who kept us in the game in the first quarter, basically on his own, and caught some of the last where the game was more or less over by that point. Amazing Shaquille McKissick again. Just fuck you to the people that were writing him off.
My ASU
Uh,
Sun Devil, Shaquille McKissick, man.
yeah, exactly. And I do believe that if we handle the game like we did today, surely we can do this. Like, what a season it has been and what a season it will be. Like, again, this was the first game where we had no one out. This was the first game with a full squad all season. We've done some incredible things this season.
And we've
But
already won
yeah,
in Barcelona, so I mean, we know
yeah,
these guys can do that shorthanded. Give us a full squad next week, and I mean, no reason not to believe in this team.
as I've said for months, you can never write this team off. And once again, it showed what an important role Papanikolaou plays for this team.
Yeah,
It's
that veteran presence. He's one of those guys. He's like Costa Fortuny for the football team. He can be a fire starter. He plays with the passion of somebody who's been in this club for years, and that's super important for any team competing at a European level. Just to have that extra in your squad and that veteran leadership that really understands what it means.
and we finally have Sigma out of the squad, which is a bonus to Papanikolaou's presence. So yeah, sadly that's about it for the basketball part. let's get into that chaotic, absolutely chaotic football match.
Oh my god. I
Just
up and down
give
roller
me some,
coasters.
give me some general thoughts first.
I mean, what a performance! Obviously, it's really easy to get carried away after we have a result like that. Um, Obviously, we should all enjoy this and drink this in, but at the same time, we should know better than anybody. This tie is far from over. Villa showed it even today, getting 2 goals in really the space of about 10 minutes game time. Um, but just the spirit and the fight from Olympiacos that we've seen since Mendilibar took over. I mean, I I was watching this game and I was seeing the Tottenham game from a few years ago, and we went up 2-0, looked like we were absolutely cruising, and then kind of fell apart at the back, and then that led to a 4-2 loss. You know, giving away what probably should have been a penalty, which wasn't given in the first half, and then obviously Watkins getting the goal, and then Diaby coming back and sneaking one past Solakis at the near post. That really felt to me like that was going to be the point where this tie shifted, because we've seen that so many times following Olympiacos, that this team on the road against a side that has more talent, a lot of times can just fall apart. But that's the biggest difference that I think that Mendilibar has brought to this side is he's given them a confidence and a belief that they can compete with any of these teams, and they've shown it, and they showed it today. After that Diaby goal, Villa really didn't get back into it. They got the penalty. I think that was a fortunate call, but again, they probably should have had one in the first half, so it's kind of that ebb and flow. Luckily for us, Luis missed it. But outside of that, they didn't really create any other big opportunities. They just looked unsettled and rattled basically all throughout. And I think that's a testament to Olympiacos and the way that we were able to assert our game plan, and just really look like the team that had nothing to lose. We played calm, we played composed for the most part, and we were just able to take the game to Villa, and I don't think they were expecting that.
I think part of those 3 minutes of extra time in the first half, I think we were as composed, and of course the penalty that, like you said, both are very. No, none of them are clear.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that, as you clearly said, they didn't expect it. I think they didn't expect it at all. I also think that Emery, especially if you noticed his reactions on half the plays and everything, I think he was very surprised by both from some of our players' performances, but mostly from his. Like, I remember him especially going out. The man who missed the penalty, Douglas Luiz, and Olsen, who, I mean, we are fortunate that Olsen had such a bad game. Like, he had a horrible game.
That's fair. I also wonder if Martinez is really doing better on any of those goals, other than maybe the fourth. I think I saw a lot of Villa fans giving Olsen a lot of flack, and I don't think he was great in general. But I also don't really think you can blame him for the outcome as much as some might. Obviously, next week will be a very different match, but um, you take what you can get, and kind of like you were saying earlier with some of the Villa players is not having uncharacteristically bad games. Really, this has probably been their worst performance in Europe so far this season, but we took advantage of it, and that's the important thing. And again, that's where Olympiacos in past years with past groups of players, past managers wouldn't have done that. So that's my biggest takeaway from it is really that this team, they're mentality monsters. They go out there and play like it's the last game every time, and that's just that's what we want to see.
And even when we do end up having the advantage, building off of what you said, the team just doesn't give up. They want to go for more and more. Like, even after the fourth goal, that chaotic fourth goal, by the way,
Mhm.
was it given as Santiago's goal? Was it given as a lone goal? I didn't see.
I saw it given to Edseb, I think because it was the shot looked like it was going on target, but I mean, yeah, like you said, takes two or three deflections past Olsen. He probably should have done better on it, but I mean, it took two or three deflections to the defense. That's always going to be tough for a keeper to judge the flight of.
Yeah, ball changed like three directions, but like as I was saying, even after the fourth goal, we just kept going and going. And aside you, what you pointed out, that Mendilibar has taught them to be mentality monsters. I think they play for Mendilibar as well, which boosts that even more. Because the main guy I can point out is Podence, with the problems he had under. Don't even want to call him a coach, but Carvalhal. And I think I can now safely say the best run of games of his career now, par one or two. Same with Fortunis, like was almost at the squad again under Carvalhal, and just flying now had a wonderful game again. And a person I wanna give props to, because I am the first guy that just shits on him on this show, uh, especially for for the second half, is Rachel. Like he had, can't say he had a bad game today. Didn't do anything amazing, but I think all of us were mostly worried about the wrong person in the end.
Yeah. No, I mean, he was solid. I mean, Carmo ended up giving away the penalty that we did give up, which again I thought was kind of soft, but here nor there. Um, I definitely do think there were some nervy moments at the back, but again, you can almost accept that to a degree when you see these guys they'll get up after a mistake or they'll get up after Villa gets through for a goal and they'll keep going, right? And like you said with Mendilibar, these are the same players we've had for most of the season. Obviously, we've had guys like Horta and Chiquinho who've come in kind of halfway through and had a massive impact, but it's really just down to Mendilibar coming in and showing belief in his players. That's what he did today, coming out, lining up the way we did. How many managers in the past would have gone five in the back or four in the midfield and just tried to pack it in and just hope for a result? No, Mendilibar lined his guys up and said, you guys can go play this game. You can play face-to-face with Aston Villa. You could play face-to-face with Ben Adebache, and they've done it. I mean, you can't be, just expecting your players to buy in, like you said. The players have bought into Mendilibar because he's bought into the players. And you see these guys like Fortunis, like Podense. I mean, again, today he was getting the treatment that he was getting, and I understand it. He's a Wolves player, and Villa and Wolves, there's a rivalry there, and they were being a little rough with him. But he
Scored on
kept
them
going.
before. He scored
Yeah,
on them
they,
before.
they were dead set intent on making sure he didn't do that. He did get the assist for the second El Kabi goal. I honestly missed who got the assist on the first one, just with it being offside. It was such a crazy sequence, but he had a positive impact on the game, and he covered every blade of grass pressing. I mean, again, I think that was what a lot of people were probably worried about, and I definitely saw, some of the scouting reports from Villa accounts on Twitter saying this is what we need to try to target and expose is all the space they're going to leave behind them. Well, the press tonight was so effective that they never really got to do that, and that really comes down to Fortunis and Podense, El Kabi as well, all the midfielders. I mean, you really can't look through this team and see a guy that didn't play his heart out. There were definitely a couple performances that were a little iffy. We were talking about Ortega during the game, who was injured, but again, he's kind of been a disaster through a lot of these games. But yeah, it's incredible to see a team that's together and a manager that believes in them and players who believe in their manager and their system.
Uh, 3 points that I want to touch on from what you said. First of all, it's a thing I saw and reposted on Twitter. Whoever said that Ortega shouldn't have been subbed off is a criminal, not less, because the man. I won't eat him up that badly because he was basically on one leg by halftime, and he was facing some of the fastest wingers in Europe, especially Diaby.
Yeah,
Uh, so I won't really shit on him for anything he did, but uh, I said something on Twitter that I was afraid he wasn't going to have that fight in him that players like Diaby have, but that thankfully didn't cost us that much. On the other hand, what an amazing game by Richards again.
absolutely. He was a warrior for us. I mean, every time he's come in, obviously he hasn't really gotten a strong run of starting, but every time he's called upon, whether it was last time out against Fenerbahce, whether it was today against Villa, he leaves it all out there. And again, that's just I think that's continuing to go back to the culture and the team that Mendilibar has really imposed. And it just seems like these guys are together. You and I were talking yesterday about how weird of a squad we have, right? We took two center backs and a teenager to Villa Park. We had two wingers because Masuras was suspended, but whoever we put out there in any position stepped up. So massive game from Richards. He was brilliant in that second half.
Play that comes to mind was the tackle he made when don't even remember who it was. Tried to put across the goal pass, and then him celebrating like he scored the game winner. So as I've said in the previous shows, I really hope we keep him. Like even as one more year loan, I really hope we keep him. Before I move on to my second point, Chiquinho got the assist for the first goal for El Gabi. And as I can see here, the SS goal was registered as a goal, so Podence has two assists, not one.
Love it.
Uh, Second point, for the people that doubted Vicente Bora, I have an apology form on my Twitter already. Just go take it. What? What a game. I don't know how, going back to what you said again, I don't know how Medilibar has just gotten 110% out of that player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to be filling that form out because I have been an Ibora doubter throughout the season, and looking at these games now, I can see that was not his fault. He was not being played in a system that worked for his style and the kind of player he is. Um, I mean, I think it was a great adjustment to make for this game because obviously we had different midfields in both games for Fenerbahce and against Maccabi in the rounds before that. Um, it really gave us that extra bit of stability with the attacking threat that Villa posed because obviously like you said, some of the fastest players in Europe, definitely the fastest we've faced in this competition. Having that extra guy to take some of that pressure off of Carmo, off of Retsos was huge. And again, he covered every blade of grass in the middle. Him and Etze and Chiquinho. I mean, those guys must have, three lungs each. Like it's incredible to watch them do what they do for us every game. Like you would swear these guys have been at the club for 10 years.
It's a perfect fit, that midfield, and honestly, I wouldn't be mad if we finish the season with it. And to take it game by game, I wouldn't be mad if I saw the same midfield next Thursday. Honestly,
Oh, me either. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that we're kind of have an embarrassment of riches there. I mean, we have five or six midfielders that I think genuinely merit a consideration to start. I mean, the fact that we can bring Ricardo Horta off the bench, can you imagine? Like,
Andre,
look at
Andre,
Andre Horta. Sorry. Um, I mean, we've had Carvalho coming off the bench. We've had Andrutsos coming off the bench in midfield. Past years in Europe, like it's such a difference. And I mean, yeah, I would honestly put the same starting lineup out next week. I would put Richards in for Ortega. I think that's the only change I would make, especially since Ortega, he might still have a knock by then. But it is fortuitous that we have Pascal this weekend, so there's no games in Greece. I know that's kind of a point of clarification for some Villa fans who were like kind of miffed that, oh, our league gave us a week off. Well, that would have happened regardless. So hopefully we put these guys on ice until then. And yeah, I think we're in a great spot. And like you said, I wouldn't be opposed to that midfield. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Horta come in and start for us. I wouldn't be opposed to Richard starting for us. I hope that one definitely happens.
Do they play this weekend?
Yes, they play. I think they play Brighton.
I'll check actually. While making my third point that I wanted to make, safe to say this was El Kabir's best game for us, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that was the thing after especially these last few knockout rounds. How many sitters did he miss against Fenerbahce, against Maccabi, even against Ferencvaros? Today, every time he was through on goal, it looked like he was going to score. So he was completely switched on, and I mean, what a player! Him, and again, that's another position where we have a lot of talent stacked up there to be able to bring off the bench with Jovetic and El Arabi. I mean, yeah, he was fantastic today. That second goal, just the composure and then dinking it, through the keeper at a tight angle, incredible.
I'm pretty sure that aside and offside, every time he was through 1-on-1, he did score.
Mm-hmm.
Confirming Aston Villa do play Brighton on the weekend, so that's going to be a very draining match for them, honestly.
Is
So
that match away or is it at home?
it's away. It's at
So
Brighton.
they're going to be traveling a lot over the next week, and another thing to consider too is just all the injury issues they have. Obviously, that's not something we're going to sit here and talk about like it's a good thing. You never want to see a team banged up like that. But that said, I mean, that takes nothing away from Olympiacos because you look at the team that Villa put out. There's so much talent there, and like we saw today, even with the injury issues they have, even with just coming out shell shock, they can turn this tie around at any time. They have the individual talent to do that. So I really hope we can take advantage of the fact that we don't have a game on the weekend, and I really hope that when we come out next week, it's more of the same and just really smothering them from the get-go, because we were able to really effectively limit their attack by keeping the ball in their half as much as we possibly could, and they just couldn't establish a flow.
I don't think I could say it more perfectly. Like I was watching the game with my girlfriend, and I told her, and I think I told the same thing to you before. If you told me that it would be 1-2 at halftime and we would be mad that we conceded, if you even told me that before the game, I'd laugh in your face. Like I don't remember what you predict. I think you predicted a 2-1 loss, didn't you?
Yeah, I predicted a 2-1 loss, and I would have been happy with that result. I
I
had
don't.
some.
I don't know anyone who wouldn't be happy with that result.
No, I mean there were people who were predicting like a 1-1 or a 2-2, and I was like, that would be a dream if we could come out of Villa Park not down. The fact that, I mean, a 2-0 lead, again, we know that it's far from over, but that's more than we could have ever dreamed of. And to go there and get 4 goals, somebody tweeted that at me earlier. Tottenham and Olympiacos are the only 2 teams who've scored 4 goals at Villa Park this season.
Is that so? I
Yes.
didn't know that. Had no clue.
I mean, that just shows, Villa are a very good team. Today, I think it was a combination of being an uncharacteristic performance, and I think that it's also just a proof of how good Olympiacos are and how competitive this team has become in such a short period of time. I mean, going to Villa Park and getting 4 goals, 4 deserved goals, that's incredible work. And the fact that we get to come home to Piraeus, and we get to come out next week in in my opinion, the hottest atmosphere in world football. I mean, that we couldn't
Yeah.
have asked for any more.
In European football, like I love this stadium, and I'm honored that I have the chance to be there next week. And as I said, I'll talk more details on that when the time comes. But yeah, we can't just downplay the South American teams.
Well, yeah, no disrespect there. I mean, I'm here in Arizona. We have that sort of Central South American culture with our local football team. I've been exposed to that, and it's incredible. But I'm gonna be impartial. I'm gonna keep saying it. I mean, next week is gonna be an incredible atmosphere. I thought that it was incredible when we had Fenerbahce. It's gonna be insane now that we have a European semifinal and we have a lead. I mean, if you didn't need to add fuel to the fire, there you go.
I mean, it was already sold out. Like the tickets went in a record time days before today. Like I think that says enough. I think. Uh, what else to say before we do the player ratings? Honestly, another man that uh, continues to surprise me very, very much, and another man that we are very lucky to have gotten early is Chiquinho. Just what did you think today?
I mean, he did. It definitely wasn't the same sort of impact he had against Fenerbahce or Maccabi. But again, I mean, consistent, steady in midfield. Like you said, he got the assist on the first goal for El Kabi. Uh, that's huge. But I really think that him and Ibora and Edson and Horta, I mean, they managed the middle of the pitch, right? It didn't really feel like McGinn or Douglas Luiz had the opportunity to really drive Villa forward. And I think part of that's due to the press, and part of that's due to the fact that, those 3, 4 guys do an incredible job of breaking up play. I think that's been the biggest thing for Olympiacos since Mendilibar came in, and his system is the fact that not a lot gets through that middle part of the pitch. So it's hard for even a team like Villa, who has an insane amount of talent, um, to really build up that attack. And I mean, again, Chiquinho, not his flashiest performance, but it's exactly what you needed in that sort of environment. And God, I really hope that we can get some of these guys permanently, because what a player.
Chiquinho is a permanent deal.
Oh, that's
We
I'm
we got
thinking back
Chiquinho
because
on a
I
frequent. Yes.
got
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to balance in my head. I know it's Horta that we have on loan then.
Yes, yes, yes. Chiquinho is
Hopefully,
on a 2.5 year deal, I'm pretty sure.
what a steal that is. I mean, Jesus, like what a player. Like genuinely, we have 3 or 4 guys in our midfield right now who are some of the best midfielders we've ever had. Like it's just lucky time to be an Olympiacos fan.
Just him and Ese for the next like 3 years is gonna be
Oh,
just crazy. And
if
both
it
were both were steals, honestly.
Oh yeah, I mean, if Etse stays here that long, that guy, I mean, he could start for a lot of teams in Europe right now. I think the one bad part about us making this sort of run is that I think everyone's going to be seeing our players, and there's a real possibility that we could be subject to a bit of a fire sale in the summer. Obviously, I hope that doesn't happen, but I mean, yeah, incredible. It's just like, finding him almost out of nowhere in the summer from Argentina. I mean, that's a great deal of business.
I mean, I'll go back to what you said, and honestly think we can say that for everything on this team. But it, it's the first time I think since I dare to say Ernesto that you have a coach with such prestige that the players want to stay and play for you. Like I'm not saying that we won't sell anyone. Like I think very sadly, I think Ese with him already attracting interest from teams like Leverkusen, for example, who are going to to complete maybe the most historic season of a German club ever. Like
Of a
they are about,
European club.
yeah, they're about to do the treble undefeated. Like that's insane. Won today as well, if I'm not that mistaken. I think they won 2-0 out in Roma.
I I
Pretty
honestly
sure.
have not kept. Yeah, they won 2-0 in Rome. I had no idea what happened in any of the other games because I was so focused on this one.
Yeah, honestly, same. I saw it on my way home because I remember the interest about Ese, but it's honestly it all comes from the coach, like you said. Like even the will of the players to play and stay, it all comes from the coach. And I'm finally interested in a good way on what we'll do this summer because your point also goes the reverse way. Like they do see our players, teams like Leverkusen, teams like I saw some interest from England for S again. Uh, there is interest about Rodinei, etc. Uh, but they also see our team and they see that we are finally a team that can go far in a European competition with a coach that's able to nearly do miracles. So you never know what will come in too in the
Absolutely. I
summer.
mean, I look at it similarly to like when Galatasaray won the Europa League or when the Ukrainian teams won the Europa League. That can be a massive platform for the league in general, right? If players see that they can go there and compete, look at how those teams have done in the past 10, 20 years since they've had those achievements. Um, I mean, this could be a very exciting time for Greek football, and that doesn't even bring into account the fact Olympiacos just won the youth league. So even if we do sell some of these players, we have some guys already that we could probably bring up and start transitioning. Maybe not at the European level yet, but I mean, there's absolutely some guys in that U19 team that could come up and play in the Super League for sure and start getting some of those reps. Um, it's very exciting to your point, and I think that this sort of run and then us potentially even being able to go on and win the tournament. Um, it's huge for the club and it's huge for the sport in the country as a whole.
I'd argue that some players from the youth team can even be brought into the European level in some sort of way. Like maybe in games against teams like Bachka that we had in the group stage of the Europa League. Like we can't forget that Kostulas was wanted by Bayern a few months ago, and we rejected that. And building off the youth league fact, I'm just so happy to see Silaidopoulos already involved so much in the team. Like, I don't remember which player he was talking to, but he was right there with Mendilibar talking to everyone. And that is also a gate per se of protection as well for all the youth players that will come up. Like the four that have been listed are, of course, Kostoulas, Koutsidis, Papakanelos, and Mouzakitis. So the coach wanted to probably test him out in training, but also see what he can offer mentally as well by bringing Prekates, as you said, with him. So I think we're covered in a lot of positions. I think the convo was with you as well, and I did have that convo with some other people on Twitter. That, as it seems, Masuras is out. Like I think that's very safe to say.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, oh, sorry, go ahead.
he's probably off to Bochum as things stand. I think Papacanelos can cover him perfectly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we still have Fortunis who he's I see him being one of those guys if he can stay healthy with the knee injuries, he could play into his late 30s. Like he doesn't have a ridiculously athletic play style, so you're probably covered there for the next, foreseeable future. It'd be great if we could get Potense back. Maybe not, but we already have some frontline depth there to have, Papa Canelas, like you said, come through and just be a guy that we can throw on the last 15 minutes of a game or give run time, especially in Greece. That is huge. And I think having Slayadopoulos there at the game tonight with the coaching staff, that's all things he's going to be able to take back to those guys. And I think the fact that you're bringing in guys like Koutsiris, guys like Brekatis, you know, part of the issue with Olympiacos and our youth system over the past, 10, 20 years, a lot of these guys don't really get a chance to come through and show themselves in the first team. And that's kind of why our youth system is always kind of lagged behind. And we've been stuck with a lot of these kind of older foreigners who are just, kind of journeyman career wise. It'd be great to start seeing that pipeline of young Greek players who grew up in the club and really, play for the badge. I mean, I think we're getting that with all this group we have right now, but that's not always going to be sustainable when you have a team mostly made of foreigners. I think it's good to find a balance there. And it's really exciting to see that, um, we're starting to invest in the youth more and take that part of the club seriously.
I mean, I have heard people say it before, and I have said it myself as well. Like, this is the first true golden generation of our own academy that is coming through. And I'll fall back to my point saying that it's nearly as perfect as you could take it that Silaidopoulos is coming up to the first team with some of these players and will be a gate of protection for many years for whatever comes through the academy. Like he said it himself, it's an interview I've quoted in the past, and he said that the results weren't as important as seeing, for example, Jolakis do so well, or Endoi getting minutes, or of course, as he said, Koutsidis going to the Fener game, or whatever is to come to the futures. Who you can see that he clearly cares about these kids a lot, and the kids that are coming in to the team. So I think they're in more than safe hands, honestly.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a more sustainable way to run your club, and I think that after the past decade and a half that we've had, I'm hoping that Marinakis is starting to notice that this is how you can win and build a team that can compete in Europe, because that's always been that last frontier for Olympiacos. We've had our good showings. We've gotten to quarterfinals and stuff like that before, but you know you're not going to be able to do that consistently if you can't consistently bring through talent. And that, like we were talking about earlier, bringing in players from around the continent, around the world who want to come play for us at the peak of their career, and bringing through guys who, want to buy into our youth system. And that could even help us find those youth players easier, because, in previous years, maybe they would rather go to AEK or Panathinaikos where they play youth players more. We just haven't ever done that. So I'm glad that all that's starting to change, and we're already very quickly seeing the results of that. So it's really exciting and it's really refreshing.
I mean, bringing back a player, bringing back the talks of a player we had, and a player I like a lot from a rival team. We did lose a very good youth talent in the summer to AEK, and a player that's gotten minutes for AEK, and that's Pilios, of course. He was very close to agreeing with us, but AEK came in and stole the deal. So I think your point is damn near perfect for the academy, and it also covers a lot of whining that Greek fans usually do, that we have and spend no money compared to other teams, and like that's the thing that Greece hasn't realized for a while, and not only us. I think most teams. I think the team that's handled their academy the best is PAOK the last few years, like going from Jolis to Kouliarakis, Jimas, and all the others that are breaking through. Kostadelias, of course. Uh, is that the worst case scenario for an academy player is, as Ari from Get 7 International had said to me, is a Nicolaou case. That
Or
you see that he's not. I'm sorry to cut you off. You see that he's not good enough for you, and you sell him on. So it's a profit either way.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's just it helps to have that organic pipeline, and not having it means that you do have to spend more, and then that, like you were saying, it leans into all the whining that other fans do, that, oh, we buy the league every year. Well, now we actually can build it and kind of give a, F off to them, because Olympiacos has really figured things out to a point where we're winning on all fronts now, not just on the pitch. It's with our youth academy, it's with the business we're doing for our first team, finding a manager and that stability. I mean, it's just crazy to think that earlier this year we were going through a carousel of managers, and now we look like we have a guy who's set up for the next few years. So, I mean, it's just I feel like this success is coming from Olympiacos figuring a lot of things out at a club level, as far as just operationally wise, what works and what can bring you success, and long may it continue.
It's it certainly come out of nowhere, given how the year went, as you said. And it's a start earlier. I always bring out. We went through eight without Mendilibar. We went through eight managers and 70 something players in the span of a year and a half. So they either saw that it was slowly going to hell, or they figured out something very quickly. I don't know which one.
I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. We got really lucky that a manager like Mendilibar was available. I mean, if he isn't out of a job with Sevilla, who knows who we end up bringing in? And I really do think that we're not where we're at right now if it isn't for him. Obviously, we can talk about how incredible the players have been, but he has been the conduit for this change. And granted, we've supported him and given him the ability to make his mark, but part of that is luck. I mean, even looking at the game today, right? Sometimes you do have to get lucky. I think Olympiacos had a lot of fortunate bounces today, but hell, how many times have we not had that? That's what I was going back and forth with some Villa fans on, is that screenshot of the offsides against Wolves few years ago, miles on side. Sometimes it breaks for
Miles.
you, sometimes it doesn't. And this season it's broken for Olympiacos, and we've gotten things going our way. But to our credit, we're taking advantage of that good fortune, whether that's on the pitch, whether that's with a manager or with the youth academy and the team coming through. It's really good to see that we're having the right mentality pretty much on all fronts going forward, and that's what's going to bring us this sort of success.
I mean, I feel like football owes it to us after so many years.
Right.
And pretty sure with you having to go in like 5-10, I'll start closing it off. Give me your man of the match and coaches grade so we can close off.
I mean, man of the match has to be El Kabi. Um, Hat trick. He earned every bit of that hat trick. He looked dangerous every time he got through on goal, and he was tireless as far as his hold up and pressuring the back line for Villa. So definitely him, but really every player I think had a very good game outside of maybe Ortega and Retsos at times, but other than that, he was also very solid. So um, not a lot of negatives. And then as far as the coach's grade, 10. He turned up to Villa Park against a very good Aston Villa side and said, we're going to play our brand of football rather than parking the bus. And that's what we've needed over the past several years, and we haven't had. So um, I love how he approached the game. I think we got the result we deserved.
Don't think I have anything to add on to that. Just fully agree, honestly. That's about it. As I said in the title, it's been the best night till the next one, honestly. Insane week coming up. Uh, that decides your presence in the final four. and in a European final, as insane as that is to say.
A European
In,
final in Greece.
in Greece.
Couldn't have picked a better year to go on this sort of run.
I'm
Obviously,
definitely going. I'm definitely
we might have to get a match day vlog out of that, man. That I mean,
going. For sure.
incredible. Like we've said, obviously the tie's not over. Villa are a very good team. There's all to play for next week, but there's absolutely no reason not to feel confident in this Olympiacos side. We know that the stadium is going to turn up, that everyone in red and white is going to sing so that heaven and hell can hear at the same time. And all we can hope for is that the players come out like they did this week. If they do, we should be through.
Have no doubts at all. Been an honor to have you on, man, and I hope I see you soon again on here.
I'm hoping for it. I mean, I took next week almost completely off of work for the second leg because I want to really be able to take this in. It's a really special time to be an Olympiacos fan, especially after everything that we've all been through supporting this team. It hasn't always been easy, so we definitely deserve this now.
Safe to say we'll see each other next week as well. Then.
Absolutely, I will make it work.
Thank you all, as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.